Hey PJs, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to make cloud slime, and this is probably one of the most requested slime tutorials ever that I've ever gotten and I've seen on like other people's pages and stuff. And it's probably because cloud slimes can be one of the trickiest slimes to make. There's so many different ways to make it and so many different ways to go wrong and a lot of different scary parts, but I'm going to talk you through it so it'll be okay, I promise. One thing that I will touch on is with this recipe I am using school glue. You can technically use glue wall, which I have done before, and clear glue if you want to try. I don't know how it's going to turn out because I've never tried it, but for this one I'm just using school glue. That's usually the most generic one that everyone uses and it's the easiest to work with. For your supplies, obviously you're going to need your glue. It doesn't matter how much, just whatever you want to use. Activator, some type of mixing utensil. You can use your hands, that's perfectly valid. I even do it, so it works. Some instant snow, water to activate that instant snow, and lotion that is technically not needed, but I always recommend it, and then whatever else you want to add to the slime. Technically, the mixing bowl is also not needed. I have poured glue just on my working surface and worked with it that way, but I'm just using one for this tutorial, and I would always recommend using one that's bigger than the slime you're trying to make, because if you use one that's like 8 ounces and you're trying to make 8 ounces of cloud slime, you're going to have slime spilling over the sides when you're trying to mix everything in. The first step that you're going to want to do is pour your glue into your bowl or on your working space or whatever. And what I like to do is do about half, if not a little less, glue than what you would do to add the instant snow, because that's going to create like a huge slime. You're going to see by the end that it's a lot bigger than the glue that I've added here. Next, you're going to add your lotion. It's only a little bit, like what I added could even be considered too much for this amount of slime. It really doesn't take a lot to go a long way. What the lotion is going to do is give your slime a little bit more of a stretch and keep the glue from being super tacky. This is also the point where you can add other things like coloring and add-ins or whatever. Do keep in mind that cloud slimes do tend to not hold in add-ins as well as other slimes, so I would be a little careful with that, but you can add whatever you like. This is the point where I add the instant snow. This is the brand that I use. It works perfectly, and this kind of like how I do it is really just eyeballing it. You'll see how much I add and you can follow those steps, or if you'd like you can activate the instant snow and then add it to an already pre-made like white glue base. That might be easier for you. I just add it in here because when I mix it together I can tell like if it needs more instant snow, if that makes sense, but you are more than welcome to do it however you like. This is also where I add my water to activate the snow. You can just put unactivated snow into the slime if you'd like and then mix it up like I am about to do, but the reason that I don't mix it first is so that when I activate the snow I can see what kind of consistency it's at, and here is usually where I like it to be, kind of fresh and powdery, not too overactivated or anything like that, because if you overactivate the instant snow you can't take that back, but if you need to add more water later you always can. Once I've activated the snow, I'm going to mix it into the glue base, and this can be a scary part because it kind of changes the feel of the slime, obviously. So what I like to do is get it to almost like a cottage cheese texture. I know that I'm going to have to add some more instant snow from here, but this is like a good safe spot that I like to get to because I know I'm on the right track, but this isn't enough. Really, the hardest part of making a cloud slime is obviously going to be figuring out how much instant snow you want to add, and most of the time a lot of people mistake not adding enough, because if you don't add enough you'll technically get a cloud slime texture but it'll kind of be clumpy as it falls, and that usually, at least for my experience, tells me that I need to add some more instant snow. From here I'm going to activate the slime, and I'm going to do this really carefully because you can really mess up a slime if you overactivate it, especially since you're going to be adding more instant snow if your texture is like mine. Now instant snow can change the slime really drastically, so activating it is kind of up to you at this point, whether you want to keep it a little underactivated or maybe a little overactivated. If you add instant snow that doesn't have any water in it or anything, then it's going to dry out the slime and kind of overactivate it, but if you add instant snow that's got some water in it, then it's going to deactivate your slime. So it just depends on what kind of snow you're adding, how your activation level is going to turn out. Once the slime forms kind of a singular ball like it does here, I like to take it out of the container. I'm more of a hands-on learner myself. If I get to feel the slime, it's a lot easier for me to tell what the slime needs from here. So like for example, when I kept it in the container, it seemed like it was going to be pretty fine from here and I wouldn't have to add too much more activator, but I actually had to add quite a bit, so that just helps me, but you're more than welcome to keep it in the container. And as a little slime tip, I like to add some activator to my hands to keep the slime from sticking to me too bad. Obviously here it doesn't last very long because the slime was pretty underactivated still, but you can add more to your hands, and that way you're not adding too much to the slime so that you don't like accidentally overactivate it, but you're adding it to your hands so that you can actually like mix in the slime and stuff. Once you activate your slime to the activation level that you want, this is where you're going to start testing what the slime is going to need by stretching it out. You can tell if a cloud slime is done by stretching it out and it starts to get like really fluffy and like want to drizzle. It's hard to explain, but you'll see it in a little bit. But you can see mine doesn't do any of that. It's really more of a cloud cream texture. So I'm going to be adding more instant snow, which you get to see the amount that I get to add. Obviously, it's going to be different for everybody in what you add at a time. But just in case anybody's following me like completely step by step, just showing you kind of exactly what I'm doing. So you saw the first time I added the instant snow that I kind of activated it pretty much normally, like fluffy and whatever. This time it's a little drier than that, and that's just my personal preference. There are wet cloud slimes and dry cloud slimes. I definitely like mine on the drier side, so I don't activate mine as much. You can activate it a little more than what I did. I would just be careful because if you add too much, the instant snow basically turns clear. And that's usually what's used to make like icy slimes or I guess wet clouds. So if you're not a fan of the wetness, I wouldn't do that much water. At this point, you should have a slime that can drizzle on its own. It might not be perfect or whatever, but you could stop there. It is technically a cloud slime. However, I want mine to have a consistent drizzle and to be like really cloud slime like. So I'm adding even more instant snow here, which is even less activated than before. At this point, you should have your drizzly cloud slime and it should be complete with all the things that you wanted to add to it, or maybe you just kept it white like mine. I like white slimes and I especially like white cloud slimes. They just look so good. Now, do keep in mind, cloud slimes are one of those ones that you should definitely let sit after you make it, because you can see here mine is kind of fluffing up and drizzling like a cloud slime should. However, it does break as it drizzles, but I promise if you let it sit for a few days, I don't know if it's maybe the instant snow like fully incorporating, but it should be perfect within a few days. You also might notice that you're having a decent amount of snow fallout. Don't freak out. That's also another thing that should go away after a few days. It also depends on how much instant snow you added. I added pretty much the most you can before you get into a cloud slime that's just not going to drizzle very well. So mine has a little more fallout than normal, but it should go away. I really hope this tutorial helped. I know when I was looking into slime tutorials for cloud slimes, I didn't really find too many. And I didn't find any that were like in depth. They were just like, you add the glue and you add the instant snow and then activate it and bam, you've got a cloud slime. They didn't really go in depth about like where you can go wrong and whatever. So I always had cloud slimes that were like super clumpy and they didn't have good drizzles. I was like, what am I missing here? And I discovered that it was because I wasn't adding enough instant snow, which I feel like is the #1 mistake when making a cloud slime. It can be scary adding more instant snow because if you do, you're either going to be left with a too much instant snow slime or you're going to have to add even more slime base, which is going to make like a huge slime. Do let me know in the comments if you followed this tutorial, if it was helpful, if you have any questions. I'm more than able to answer any that you have. And I do apologize for my cloud slime like playing here. I don't really know how to play with them super well. Even when I have like the most perfect slime, I'm terrible, especially at the drizzles, but you could see here that it's really fluffy and soft and whatnot, so I hope yours turns out like mine did. Again, I really hope this tutorial helped. I know cloud slimes can be super scary, but they are a fan favorite for a lot of people. May not me, but they're really fun to play with. I'm just not the biggest fan because they don't create the best ASMR, but they're still really good. Let me know what slime texture tutorial I should do next. And with that, I am signing off, and I will see you guys in the next one.